We got everything we need except the sugar.
Okay, well, maybe he'll get up with me.
We need clean and sausage.
Thank you. I want to see it again because I may have to go away this week. That's what I wasn't following you before.
Yeah, you're but he made a comment to us tonight about the
I often
I can't argue with that.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Please join me with a simple nigun. Lai, lai, lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, lai, lai. Lai, lai, lai. Lai, 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 lai.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. We say this light is mine, it was given to me in love, it was given to me in peace. This light was hers, that mother in our past who held it with pride. This light was theirs, those sisters of ages past who held it in awe. This light will be theirs, those daughters of our heart, may they hold it with care, a light won by strength, by suffering, by selflessness. We praise you, O God, and pray that for all time we will kindle our light with blessed freedom, the flame a constant, a beacon in our lives. Tonight we welcome Shabbat, we welcome one another, we look forward to the end of the week and the gentle slide into Shabbat. This particular Shabbat, we're so pleased always each week that you're with us, any week that you're with us, but this week in addition, we are remembering and commemorating Women of the Wall. It is the 30th anniversary of that organization. We'll talk a little bit more about them later in the evening, and this also marks International Women's Day, and so we are keenly aware this evening, and I hope make ample space for the women in our lives who have shaped who and how we are, and perhaps hold a special place in the corner of our heart this evening during our services as well. With that, we invite you please to join us as we turn to page 121, and we invite the Leonards to join us for candle lighting, page 121.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed
are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Page 123, we continue as we rise for Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei b'rifat haven. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat v'shabiyava u'v'ratzon inhimanu zikaron le'maaseh bereshit ki hu yom tehillah lemikra'e kodesh zecher le'tziat Mitzrayim ki vanu v'harta v'tanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodesh ve'ahav ratzon imtazanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Amen. L'chaim.
Please be seated. Let's continue praying responsively. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. Page 129, as we continue with the singing of Ki Yeshmerah Shabbat.
Shabbat
We have welcomed Shabbat, we have welcomed one another, and we continue as we greet the Sabbath bride on page, on page 138 with the singing of Lecha Dodi. Page 145 as we continue. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ועמד יברך ירוקי וימליך מלכותי בחייך ויונך ובחייך בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב
Page 146 as we rise for our call to worship the Baruch Hu. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'divaro ma'ariv arabim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, u'vituna mishane iti, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'misader et hakochavim, b'mishmarotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golem or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, u'ma'avir yom u'mevi. Baruch atah Adonai, Amariv Arabim. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. That this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuta, Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated.
V'yata en Adonai Elohecha b'chol lebavcha v'chol nafshecha u'b'chol mi'adecha v'hayu הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך לבניך ודיברתם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך ובשכבתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי וייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands, marching together.
Oh
Bar kifada Adonai et Yaakov, Ga'alo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporeis sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue now with Vishamru on page 162. As we are honoring women this evening, this day, this weekend, we hearken to the words of Regina Jonas, who was most likely, and as far back as we can trace, the first woman rabbi who said, God has placed abilities and challenges in our heart without regard to gender. Each of us has the duty, whether man or woman, to realize those gifts God has given. Page 164 as we rise for the tefillah.
Adonai, Malin Abraham, Bezrat Sarah.
Ata kadosh, v'shimcha kadosh, v'kedoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha sela. Baruch Ata Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch Ata Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Ratzei Adonai Eloheinu, Be'amcha Yisrael, Utfilatam Be'ahavat Tekabel, Utehi L'Ratzon Tamid Avodat Yisrael Amecha. Baruch Ata Adonai, Sha'orcha, Levadcha, V'yira Na'avo. Baruch Ata Adonai, Hatov Shimcha, L'cha Na'ed, L'hodot.
Sim
moments, each of us, all of us, in silence, in prayer, in meditation. Page 371, as we turn our thoughts to those in our community, those in our circles who are in need of healing, of strength, of wholeness, of courage, as we say, Mishaberach Avotenu v'Imotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech et Acholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and give strength to those who are struggling. This evening, we are holding in prayer James Boyle, Zachary Couch, Barb DeCario, Thomas DiMatteo, Mark Friedman, Elizabeth Friedman, Yeshaya Idel Ben Gittel, Dennis Goldsmith, Ira Coleman, Abby Kohat, George Okrent, Karen Jacobson, Marty Jacobson, Dorothy Jacobson, Shana Esther Bat Ruchel, Beth Shackman, Moshe Ben Leah, Florence Sporn, Chaya Sivya Bat Avraham Vidvora, Lori Conway, Ed Mazinski, Howard Itkin, Jonathan Behrman, Pauline Rosenberg, Ita Bat Eliza, and Chris Sura. If there are other names that you would add to this list, or names better spoken aloud by you, please, as I look your way, would you share that name with us? We also are holding in prayer the very many who I have heard, I don't know if you too have heard, have fallen in the last couple of weeks on ice, and any number of people who I and we know in our community and out who have unexpectedly fallen and who are laid up. Let's hold them in our prayers and hold them in our prayers as the warm-up is coming, that their spirits are warmed as well, knowing that we are caring about them and all those who have no one to say a mishaberach for them. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength, where possible, to be revived. May God send them renewal of body and of spirit. And let us join together in saying,
Amen.
On the morning of December 1st, 1988, a group of approximately 70 women from a variety of Jewish denominations arrived at the Kotel at the Western Wall with a Torah scroll to conduct a halachic, a kosher, a legal, according to Jewish law, women's prayer service. As no provisions for Torah reading existed in the women's section of the Kotel, they brought a Torah scroll. They stood together and they prayed out loud. Many women and men on the other side of the mechitza, of the divider for men and women, began to scream, curse, and even threaten them. Despite these events, they managed to complete their Torah reading, and the Kotel administrator, Rabbi Yehuda Getz, allowed them to continue their service, stating that they were not violating halakha, that they were not violating Jewish law. Since that day, they continue to struggle to pray together out loud as we are this evening, while wearing talit and tefillin or kippot, and reading from a Torah scroll at the Kotel, at the wall. For 30 years, I mentioned that at the beginning of the service, for 30 years they have endured violence and legal battles for this basic right as Jewish women, while mobilizing support from the Israeli and international community. 2 weeks ago, I was at the Kotel, at the wall, some of you know, with a delegation of educators through Federation, through the partnership, through Ron smiling already, through our partnership with Modi'in. We were from Temple Beth Kodesh, Temple Beth El, and the Pittsford and Brighton school districts as well, all there as part of our partnership. Along with us was this wonderful group of students from Brighton High School who were also there at the same time that we were as part of an additional Israeli exchange. So we saw some of our kids, some of our Temple Sinai kids, and we actually crossed over for this trip and met at the Kotel actually very early on in our trip. I was struck, as I am each time I am in the Old City and at the wall, at the sheer magnitude of its history. To stand in a place that is vibrant and alive, that is the home to 4 diverse populations, each with their own quarter for those who have been or who know, a Jewish quarter, Armenian quarter, Christian quarter, and Muslim quarter, is fascinating, inspiring, and not without its significant complications. I read a passage today that said in the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark, how many of you have seen that movie? How many of you have not seen that movie? Okay, don't put your hand up. That you don't want to admit that. So in the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and his enemies, maybe you remember this, try to capture the lost Ark of the Covenant. And at one point in the film, Jones' nemesis pats the Ark and turns to Indiana Jones saying, "You and I just are passing through history. This is history." And that is the feeling that one gets in the old city of Jerusalem. Just walking through the narrow streets and its alleys, never mind the shrines of three faiths, one is actually immersed in history. You actually feel like you're walking through the pages of history or through the scrolls themselves. It is breathtaking each time. I was, however, also struck as I stood near to the entrance of the wall, many feet away before we were released as a group to approach on our own, by the conversation that took place by some of the tour guides and leaders as we were standing near the back, who said, "I know visitors love it here, but it's not really my favorite place," they said. "This is not what moves me most in Israel. This place might be historic, but it is so highly contentious and politicized that it is anything but inspiring." Did it detract from my approach to the wall? Yes. Was it a hard truth that I already know? Yes. Do I feel like the wall belongs to me as a Jew? Yes. Do I feel that way as a Reform rabbi? Not certain. And here are some of the reasons why. On December 31st, 1988, a new regulation was promulgated by the Ministry of Religion and the Ministry of Justice to prohibit any religious ceremony at a holy place that is not in accordance with the custom of the holy site and which offends the sensitivities of the worshipers at that place. The penalty for violating this regulation is 6 months in jail and or a fine. 1988, however, this regulation is still in effect today. 2001. Proposed bill number 1924 was voted on in the Knesset in the Israeli parliament. Number 1, the prayer area at the Western Plaza shall be divided into a men's section and a women's section by a divider, and prayers by men and women in a mixed group shall not be permitted there. Number 2, no religious ceremony shall be held in the women's section near the Western Wall. That includes taking out a Torah scroll and reading from it, blowing the shofar, or wearing talitot or tefillin. Number 3, violators shall be imprisoned for 7 years. Women of the Wall orchestrated a letter-writing campaign to the Prime Minister, the Justice Minister, and the Speaker of the Knesset. But here are some of the reasons that I do feel like the wall belongs to me as a Reform rabbi. In 2004, on June 4th, the court ruled that despite the state's claims to the contrary, the women of the Wall maintained a legal right to pray at the Western Wall. Nevertheless, such right was not without boundaries. The court ruled that prayer at Robinson's Arch would allow the women of the Wall to pray according to their practice next to the Western Wall. However, in 2009, on Rosh Chodesh Kislev, November 18th, the Western Wall Heritage Foundation demanded that the police stop Women of the Wall's prayer services, and in response, the police arrested Women of the Wall participant Nofrat Frankel, a young Israeli medical student. She was held for several hours, interrogated, and charged with illegally wearing a talit at the Western Wall. 2010, Women of the Wall chairperson Anat Hoffman, many of you and many of us have had the opportunity to learn with her, was arrested in July for carrying a Torah, taken into police custody and interrogated for 5 hours before being released and banned from the Kotel for 30 days. 2012, we're getting closer to present day. Anat Hoffman was arrested while leading prayer at Hadassah's Centennial Convention. She was held in custody and subjected to violent and aggressive treatment for over 12 hours. She was released and issued a restraining order from the Western Wall for 30 days, for 1 month. 2013. On April 11th, 5 women were detained, held for questioning, and arrested. After seeing all the evidence, the judge stated that there was no cause for arresting the women and declared that the women of the wall were not, in fact, disturbing the public order with their prayers. But then, in 2013, also the same year, women of the wall submitted a list of conditions for the creation of an equal, fully integrated third section of the Western Wall to Avichai Mandelblit, Israel's cabinet secretary at the Prime Minister's office. A precondition to this document is that women of the wall will continue to pray in the women's section until a third section is created and completed to the satisfaction of the multi-denominational women's prayer group, a kind of holding status. And in 2014, Women of the Wall launches bat mitzvah advertising campaigns on buses. Ought to be a big stride forward. The first bat mitzvah is held at the Kotel on October 24th, 2014. A tiny 200-year-old Torah is brought into the Western Wall under the radar of the authorities as if it is contraband. And 12-year-old Sasha Lutt of Beersheba read from the Torah for her bat mitzvah ceremony as her mother, Irina, member of Women of the Wall's executive board, looked on with pride. Also 2014, the first Hanukkah candle lighting service at the Kotel brings over 100 women, including prominent Knesset members. 2018, Women of the Wall continues gathering women of all Jewish denominations for Rosh Chodesh, for the start of the new Jewish month, for services, for drawing at least between 150 to 200 women to each event, and attracting thousands of live stream followers and supporters from around the world. And today, how many of you saw the news today? And what did you see? What did you see?
Noah Sata was bruised and scratched.
You saw?
Noah Sata, the one.
Right, Noah Sata was bruised, and right, today was the actual, today and tomorrow is the 30th anniversary of Women of the Wall. They had marked the entire weekend as a celebratory weekend at the Kotel. What else did you see in today's news about the gathering?
Haredi girls bust in to protest Women of the Wall.
Right, ultra-Orthodox Haredi girls and boys by the thousands. How many of you have been to the Kotel? How many of you can envision that space, to imagine what thousands of students must have looked like swarming in, whose sole purpose it was to disrupt and stop violently this Women of the Wall celebration and commemoration? These are our people, or are they, is the question. Right? This is the 30th anniversary of Women of the Wall. They need our support. They need our support there. They need our support here. Pluralism, equality, basic human rights are what we ought to be fighting for here and there. We aspire to be able to pray, to celebrate, to read Torah, and observe freely at the Kotel, respectfully, as a community. It is a beautiful coincidence of timing that today we honor and celebrate the tireless work of Women of the Wall, along with celebrating the International Women's Day. It is an ideal time for us to honor and make ample space for women of all faiths and women of no faith who endeavor to secure gender parity, to celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. While Women of the Wall celebrates its 30th anniversary and International Women's Day has occurred for well over a century, the first gathering of which was in 1911, supported by over 1 million people in Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland. Prior to this, it was the Socialist Party of America, the United Kingdom's suffragists and suffragettes, and other groups who campaigned for women's equality. Today, we know better that International Women's Day belongs to all groups collectively. It doesn't have a personal group attached to it. Their slogan for this year, have any of you seen the slogan for this year for International Women's Day? Hashtag balance for better. Hashtag balance for better is their slogan. Where Women of the Wall and International Women's Day align is in their pledge to women to have equality and for our society to be in better, more careful balance. So the question becomes, how can we be part of their significant efforts? By supporting their work financially, through social media, on the ground in the places where we work and study and socialize and pray. This Shabbat, we commemorate Women of the Wall and International Women's Day. We are encouraged, perhaps challenged, to consider what we can do to truly make a positive difference for women. How can we help forge a more gender-balanced world? Why are we still having this conversation? How can we encourage and support the advancement of women in the workplace? How can we encourage and support advancement of women in leadership? How can we actively celebrate women's achievements? How can we raise awareness against gender bias? And how can we act for equality? For in the words of Gloria Steinem, world-renowned feminist, journalist, and activist, the story of women's struggle for equality belongs to no single feminist, nor to any one organization, but to the collective efforts of all who care about human rights. And let us join together in saying, Amen. Would you join me, please, as we turn to our concluding prayers on page 586, and we rise for the Elaine. We pause now and we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. We are in the period of Shloshim, in the first 30 days, mourning the loss of Annette Itkin, mother of Howard Itkin, and aunt of Michael and Susan Harf, and Stefan Ellman, brother-in-law of Karen Rosenblum. This evening marks a yahrzeit and anniversary of passing for Agnes Cole, Samuel Kramer, Eugene Ellis, Melvin Fernandez, Nathan Fishgold, Freddie Fox, Esther Friedman, Samuel Hyman, Joseph Kellerman, Pearl Kleiman, Raymond Coleman, Rebecca Cosmandel, Sydney Kuttner, Harry Lebman, Cam Hang-Lui, Harold Mann, Miriam Marks, Sydney Metzger, Rose Perlstein, Hyman Ring, Morton Rosenbaum, Herbert Sadoff, Beth Soloway, and Henry Essek Stropnicki. If there are other names that you would add to either list or names better spoken aloud by you, please, as I look your way, would you share that name? Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing as we join together on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayei v'yamei v'chayei techol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei l'kudusha v'richu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom min ramav Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all who are mourning, to all Israel, as we join together in saying, Amen. Please be seated. We want to share just a few brief announcements with you this evening. We want to thank our greeter, Barry Wexler. Give a wave. Say hi to Barry on your way out or when you join us in the social hall for our oneg. We want to wish a mazel tov to Joe and Diana Sorosky on the birth of their daughter Noah Tegan, and also a mazel tov to Aaron and Janetta Ruby on the birth of their son Ezra Finn Ruby. We want to remind you it's getting close. You're going to want to pull out your best disco attire. I know you have it. I know you have it at home if we haven't bought it all online already. So pull out your disco apparel and join us Wednesday, March 20th for our Purim dinner and carnival. Make sure, please, that you help us along by registering so we can prepare properly. For those of you who have little ones, bring them to the carnival. We'll have some good treats for them as well this year. And the Purim Spiel itself, the disco Megillah Spiel, begins at 6:30. No registration is needed for that. Also, please mark on your calendars the weekend of March 22nd to 24th for our Scholar in Residence Weekend with Dr. Ron Wolfson, who speaks and teaches about, his topic is about relational Judaism and how relationships are at the heart of a sacred community. There are many different parts to that weekend. You can find all of that information online, and if you can't wait until you get home to look online, head to Liz, and she can tell you all that you need to know about that weekend, and hopefully you'll be able to join us. Join us tomorrow morning as we continue to study the book of Jeremiah at 9:15, and then we have Shabbat services at 10:30 for those who are coming to Sinai Cafe. That begins tomorrow evening at 7:30. Sunday morning, we resume with adult education, with regular religious school, and with Hebrew classes as well. And then please, if you haven't noticed or haven't yet marked, note that on March 13th, we have a discussion that we are co-sponsoring here on Parkinson's and other degenerative diseases at 7 p.m., and we hope that you'll be able to join us then as well. Any announcements that we should know about from you? Any joys, any successes, any excitements? Is everybody thinking about their disco outfit? I can just see it on your faces. Yeah. Anything that we should know about? Please.
So this day is coming up on May 5th, and if anyone has any ideas of some social action organizations that we can participate in, please see me.
Great.
And look at snippets.
Thank you. Okay, tonight at the Oneg, if you see someone new, please make sure that you introduce yourself and make sure that they feel welcome. We are going to make motzi, and then our closing song will be Hallelujah. It's on page 339, right after motzi. Please, would you join us? It seems a shame to cut it, doesn't it? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Closing benediction, I invite you please to rise. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, our God and God of our fathers and mothers. This Shabbat, may we think of those we know and celebrate, those women who have impacted and shaped our lives and all the achievements, known and unknown, of women. May we continue to raise awareness against bias and act for equality. And let us remember that a balanced world is a better world, and that the story of women's struggle for equality belongs to no single feminist, nor to any one organization, but to the collective efforts of all who care about human rights. Shabbat Shalom.
No, got somebody covered it.
Okay, so
Yeah,
can't sign the papers.
So, Sunday morning. Is it one about, is it abuse? Yes. Okay. Okay. That's fine. Then we should
Oh yeah, we talk every Saturday mornings, and sometimes during the week. Thank God for Skype or FaceTime. FaceTime, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, right, whatever it is.
Thank God. It makes a huge difference, and she's like coming to the station.
That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to do. when you get back from Paris. Yeah, right. He called me. He called me like, that's where I'm at. I'm like, you're in Israel? He's like, no, I'm in Paris. I'm like, all right, Brother Rabbi, I really don't want to talk to you right now. Like, you took
thank you for